I told him that I would like to share this experience at the town hall meeting, and he said, I encourage you to do that. So I then shared the experience with at the town hall meeting. The Board of Town Commissioners listened. I believe they were concerned. I'd like to see how they... I think this is an opportunity for us to learn and improve. Since then, when I spoke with Jesse Bain, who formerly served as the sheriff of Harford County, he encouraged me to come and speak at the town hall. He said if we don't get input from the community on things like this, then 90% of the time we will get it wrong. And what grace, what humility. I mean, I wish he could be our president. And with leadership like that, how can we not overcome? So as a community, we should overcome. We should learn our civil rights. It's a shared responsibility to uphold our civil rights. We have certain expectations of the police, and on our part, I think we should all we should come to town meetings. We should know our rights. We should stand up for our community and for our shared values as the town of Bel Air.
And so, can you talk just a little bit about yourself and just kind of a little bit about your background and just where you grew up?
Well, our family moved to Maryland when I was in 7th grade, first to Aberdeen and then to Bel Air. So I graduated from Bel Air High School, as did my brother and sister. My sister went to all the schools in a row, from kindergarten to high school. I went to college in Johns Hopkins, and then I went to Wisconsin, Boston. I've had jobs elsewhere. I work for an organization where I go to India a lot. But now I live in Bel Air once again. But for all these 30 plus years, I have been very much part of Bel Air.
Okay. And so, what sort of response have you gotten from the community since the news came out?
Well, I've talked. I was a little nervous actually, and my husband was a little concerned that how I should bring this up in a way that brings something constructive out of it. And I'm glad to say that the community has responded in a way that showing concern and wanting to bring something constructive. I contacted the American Civil Liberties Union, and they said they could organize a Know Your Rights training. One of my mom's friends invited me to speak at her church, and so a lot of the people from the church came to the town hall meeting. And just now, after reading about this, a couple of people I met at the library were telling me that things like this had happened to them. And so I said that I encourage you also to come and speak up at the town hall meetings. The town hall meetings are a great place for us to come together and have this discussion openly. I mean, it's not that easy, especially today, to have an open public discussion on a sensitive topic, and we were able to do that at the town hall meeting. I think that itself is an achievement. For 2 hours, we had a safe haven, a civil haven from the madness that's going on in the country, and we should preserve that. We should feel fortunate that we have leadership like Jesse Bain. We have a police department that is responding, that is showing interest in doing the right thing, and we should keep asking them, how's it going? Have you? I understand that they're planning to conduct further training with on implicit bias and whatever it is. The police are trained in all of these things, and they should have the confidence to work according to their training, so that we can build greater trust between the community and the police. It's a hard job. Hats off to people who take that kind of job. It's risky, it's difficult, and I believe that speaking out about this now is a way to help and defend the police also, because the incident could have been more serious. What if it was someone else? What if it had escalated? There's so many other things that could have happened. Fortunately, this time nobody was hurt, nobody was arrested, and we should use this as a learning opportunity.
It begins. Cop stops innocent woman for walking, demands to see her papers in the wake of President Trump's announcement to withhold federal funding from so-called sanctuary cities, places where federal immigration laws are not enforced. One story coming out of Bel Air, Maryland is getting national attention. Bel Air, MD is approximately 90% white, with a spattering of races and nationalities making up the remaining 10%. Resident Arvinda Pilella Mary, a naturalized U.S. citizen from India, says she found out the hard way how her neighbors feel about her presence in the neighborhood and how police treat people of color in the modern-day xenophobic police state. Ir papier, bit. That phrase often brought shudders to the people who heard it in the 1930s and single-quote 40s. It is German for your papers, please, and its sinister nostalgia is once again making a comeback. Palala Mary says she was simply enjoying a nice walk, just steps away from her home, when law enforcement officers arrived and began questioning her. When she explained that she lived nearby and was merely out for a walk, the officer on scene told her he'd received a call supposedly reporting a suspicious person. Palala Mary replied to the officer with a question of her own, asking if it was a crime to be walking while brown. When a supervisor arrived and began to question her more aggressively, she was informed that she was under criminal investigation. As the Free Thought Project has consistently reported, the officers then followed their modus operandi in asking Palala Mary for her state-issued identification. Producing none, she was then questioned as to why she was not in possession of an ID card. That's when officers asked her a question that admittedly disturbed her. They questioned, "Why don't you have ID? And, are you here illegally?" According to the Baltimore Sun, Palala Mary, 47, has lived in Bel Air for more than 30 years and is a U.S. citizen. Her parents came to America from India when she was a baby. She went to Bel Air High School. She walks in her neighborhood nearly every day. The thought that someone would look at her outward appearance and conclude she is someone to be seen in a suspicious light was disturbing to her. Instead of filing a lawsuit and taking her case to court, potentially suing for racial profiling, she went to the Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners meeting to voice her concerns. Only when the supervisor asked, "Are you here illegally?" did my sense of color, and of being unequal, come forth, and my interest in my civil rights take a back seat to get out of the situation safely, she told the board. Public safety does not need to come at the cost of civil rights, she implored. I am sharing this incident here not to ask anyone here to find fault or take sides. We are all on the same side and can use this as an opportunity to learn and improve. The responsibility to uphold civil rights is one that all of us share, and we need to do our part and also expect the police to do their part. Bel Air Police Chief Charles Moore told reporters, "If there isn't one, there will be," when asked about his department's policy of questioning the immigration status of individuals. "That's not a concern of ours," Moore said, adding, "That's just not the proper protocol that I would take. And my officers, from what I've seen from their performance, I don't see that from them either." Palala Mary was detained while her name was checked through the police database. She was afterward allowed to go on her way. But the incident now serves to highlight the problem of racial profiling, the expectation by police that residents carry identification at all times, and the reaction of the ethnic majority, whites, to ethnic minorities engaged in their daily dealings. First and foremost, no citizen should be questioned by police because police receive a phone call of a suspicious person in a neighborhood. Neither should police feel compelled to investigate such calls. Someone is only a suspect when and if they've committed a crime. Your neighbors are not suspects simply for walking down a neighborhood street. And police have to understand that asking someone for identification without suspecting that individual of having committed a crime is plain and simple harassment, not to mention a dangerous and slippery slope. Image: http://pixel.watch/QUT7 If Palala Mary had not complied with officer questions, had attempted to walk away without answering, or had run away out of fear, the headline to this story might be very different, as TFTP has reported. All too often, encounters with police leave innocent people insulted, injured, imprisoned, or worse. As we have consistently reported, anything less than 100% compliance with officer commands seems to give the police a false sense of entitlement to invalidate a person's rights and assault, kidnap, or cage set individuals. That's what has to change in America. Residents should not be threatened with having a gun pointed at their heads simply because they choose not to comply with officers' questioning. Neither should they be subjected to being tasered simply because an officer just got a new one and wants to try it out. The policy of 100% compliance must stop, along with this apparently new policy of harassing brown people. Palala Mary should have felt empowered to be able to continue walking along the sidewalk without being compelled to answer any of the responding officers' questions. She has a right to remain silent. She also has a right to liberty, which means she has a right to continue on her way. She has a right to liberty, to feel free to walk away from police at any point. Unfortunately, in the police state, which is what America is quickly becoming, citizens are too afraid to exercise those rights out of fear they'll be thrown to the ground, handcuffed, or beaten for not complying. Heed this warning, TFTP readers. First, they came for the Muslims. Read more at http://thefreethought.com/woman-citizen-detained-papers/#WHEJBTPHUCCGQZ8.99